Hello everyone, welcome back to our Learning Legal English through Case Laws series. In this video, we will study case law number 19/2018/AL. About on valuation of the assets unlawfully appropriated pertaining to the crime of embezzlement. Part 1, Source of the case law. Part 2, Overview of the case law. Part 3, Content of the case. Part 4, Assessment of the court. Part 5, Rules. This case law was adopted by the Judicial Council of the Supreme People's Court on October 17, 2018 and promulgated under Decision No. 269/QDCA dated November 6, 2018 by the Chief Justice of the Supreme People's Court. Cassation Decision No. 09/2015/HSGDT dated April 23, 2015 of the Criminal Court of the Supreme People's Court on the embezzlement case with respect to the defendant, Vo Tian N, born in 1981 and having resided at No. 17, A Street, B Ward, C City, Binh Dinh Province. In addition, in the case, Phan TQ was convicted of the crime of lack of responsibility causing serious damage. Vo T Kim T was convicted of the crime of lack of responsibility causing serious damage to the state's property. Overview of the case law. Background of the case law. The defendant abused gaps in the management of the bank to repeatedly and directly carried out procedures to withdraw and pay out savings deposit monies from the funds of the bank's branch that the defendant managed, but in actuality he did not pay out anyone and used such monies for himself. During the investigation process, the defendant remedies a part of monies unlawfully appropriated. Legal resolution. In this case, the defendant must bear criminal liability for the crime of embezzlement. The value of assets unlawfully appropriated by the defendant must be determined as the total amount that the defendant falsely carried out the procedures for withdrawing and paying out the savings deposit monies from the funds of the bank's branch, including the amount remedied by the defendant during the investigation process. Part 3. Content of the case. Transaction Office D was the unit attached to the branch of the Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development in C City, established under Decision No. 1667/QD/NHNNTCCB dated March 2, 2007 by the General Director of the Vietnam Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development, who was responsible for mobilizing savings deposits of the people. From May 2008 to April 2010, Transaction Office D was a transaction counter jointly working in the same office with the Accounting and Treasury Department of Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development in C City. Transaction Office D had 02 employees as follows. Phan TQ was the accountant who was responsible for transacting with customers, making documents pertaining to receipt and payment, keeping records of cash journals, accounting the receipts and payments into transaction program on the computer, printing and issuing passbooks and making savings cards. Vo T Kim T was the treasurer who was responsible for managing the unissued blank passbooks for the benefit of customers, managing receipts and payments. Vo Tian N was the bank teller of the Accounting and Treasury Department of Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development in C City, who was responsible for managing payments towards non-resident customers, transferring amounts of money, mobilizing capital, accounting the amounts of debt and interest collected in cash. On April 12, 2010, the director of the branch of the Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development in C City discovered the violations of the bank teller currently working at the branch and reported to the branch of the State Bank in Binh Dinh Province. On June 7, 2010, the director of the branch of the Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development in Binh Dinh Province issued the official letter No. 486/NHNNBDHCNS to request the investigation agency to clarify that the payment of savings deposit monies at Transaction Office D towards 02 passbooks, namely Passbook No. NA 222040 under the name of Dang T Bich D and Passbook No. NA 1297720 under the name Notan V, which caused damage to the bank with the total amount of 774,403,300 VND. It was determined in the investigation process as follows. As to Phan TQ and Vo T Kim T, they had directly carried out procedures and paid out monies from the funds of Transaction Office to Passbook No. NA 222040 under the name of Dang T Bich D with the amount of 200,100,000 VND. And Passbook No. NA1297720 named as Notan V with an amount of 102,870,600 VND, which amounted to 302,970,600 VND, 200,100,000 VND, plus 102,870,600 VND equals 302,970,600 VND, without checking the identity cards of customers for discrepancies, causing damages to the bank for the aforementioned amount. As to Vo T on N, she had directly carried out the procedures and paid out monies from the funds of the branch of the bank managed by Vo T on N into Passbook No. NA1297720 under the name of Notan V with the total amount of 471,432,700 VND, including. On July 31, 2009, Vo T on N paid out the amount of 23,124,400 VND, which includes the principal of 20,000,000 VND and the interest of 3,124,400 VND. On November 3, 2009, Vo T on N paid out the amount of 448,308,300 VND, which includes the principal of 375,000,000 VND and the interest of 73,308,300 VND. As to the payment on November 3, 2009, the investigation agency identified that Vo T on N had transferred the amount of 251 million VND into the ATM account under the name of Vo T. This card was managed, used and transacted by Vo T on N many times. After that, Vo T on N withdrew the amount of 251 million VND from the ATM account of Vo T many times for the purpose of unlawfully appropriating such amount. As to the balance remaining from the payment to the step-up interest Passbook No. NA1297720 under the name of Notan V, since Vo T on N did not conclusively prove the identity of the recipient involved, it caused damages to the bank in the amount of 224,32,700 VND. Having considered that during investigation process the defendant Vo T on N remedied such amount, the People's Procuracy of Bindin Province did not prosecute her for the crime. In first instance criminal judgment number 106/2013/HSST dated August 14, 2013, the People's Court of C City, Bindin Province applied Article 278.2 C, Article 46.1 B, Article 46.1 P, Article 46.2, Article 47 of the Criminal Code to sentence Vo T on N to 3 years of imprisonment for the crime of embezzlement. On August 27, 2013, Vo T on N submitted an appeal requesting a suspended sentence. In Appellate Criminal Judgment Number 30/2014/HSPT dated February 24, 2014, the People's Court of Bindin Province applied Article 248.2 B, Article 249.2 DD of the Criminal Procedure Code to accept the appeal requesting a suspended sentence of the defendant Vo T on N, and applied Article 278.2 C and Article 46.1 B, Article 46.1 P, Article 46.2, Article 47 and Article 60 of the Criminal Code to sentence Vo T on N 3 years of imprisonment for the crime of embezzlement but allowing her to serve probation of 5 years. In Cassation Protest Number 02/2015/KNHS dated February 9, 2015, the Chief Justice of the Supreme People's Court requested the Cassation Council of the Criminal Court of the Supreme People's Court to set aside Appellate Criminal Judgment Number 30/2014/HSPT dated February 24, 2014 of the People's Court of Bindin Province and First Instance Criminal Judgment Number 106/2013/HSST dated August 14, 2013 of the People's Court of C City, Bindin Province as to Vo T on N in order to re-investigate in accordance with the law. At the cassation hearing, the representative of the Supreme People's Procuracy agreed with the cassation protest of the Chief Justice of the Supreme People's Court. Part 4 Assessment of the Court. One, Vo T on N had no task given by the managers of the Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development in C City to make payment of savings deposit money. However, she abused gaps in the management of the bank many times to directly carried out procedures to withdraw and pay out savings deposit monies from the funds of the bank's branch that Vo T on N managed into the Passbook No. NA1297720 under the name of Notan V with the total amount of 471,432,700 VND. During the investigation process, the investigation agency determined that there was no customer named Notan V and Vo Tion N herself did not prove conclusively who received the amount. 2. After carried out procedures to pay to customer Notan V, Vo Tion N transferred 251 million VND held in the bank's funds that Vo Tion N managed into the ATM account under the name of Vo TT, which was directly opened, managed, and used by Vo Tion N, then withdrew such amount many times for the purpose of unlawfully appropriating the monies of the Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development in C City. The first instance court and the appellate court sentenced Vo Tion N for the crime of embezzlement as to the amount of 251,000 VND, which had basis and were correct under the law. However, due to the fact that Vo Tion N unlawfully appropriated from the bank the amount of 251,000 VND, Vo Tion N's crime falls under Article 278.3a of the Criminal Code with respect to unlawfully appropriating property with value in the range of 200,000 VND to 500,000 VND, which has a sentencing framework of between 15 to 20 years of imprisonment. The first instance court's application of Article 278.2 of the Criminal Code to sentence the defendant Vo Tion N to 3 years of imprisonment was too light and not in accordance with the law. During the appellate hearing, the appellate court failed to detect the mistake of the first instance court, upheld the sentence, and allowed the defendant to serve probation, which were serious mistakes and failed to properly assess the seriousness of the crime committed by the defendant. 3. As to the remaining amount of 224,32,700 VND. 471,432,700 VND, 251,000,000 VND equals 220,432,700 VND, paid out by Vo Tion N for the step-up interest passbook No. NA 1297720 under the name of Notan V, Vo Tion N remedied the consequences. The Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development C City recovered the total amount lost. Given the fact that the People's Procuracy of Binh Dinh Province considered that the defendant remedied the consequences and then decided not to prosecute this crime, the Procuracy omitted to prosecute all crimes committed. For the reasons mentioned above, pursuant to Article 279.2, Article 285.3, Article 287 of the Criminal Procedure Code, rules 1. To set aside appellate criminal judgment number 30/2014/HSPT dated February 24, 2014 by the People's Court of Binh Dinh Province and first instance criminal judgment number 106/2013/HSST dated August 14, 2013 of the People's Court of C City, Binh Dinh Province as to Vo Tion N to re-investigate in accordance with the law. 2. To transfer the case to the Supreme People's Procuracy for settlement according to its authority. Other decisions of the above-mentioned appellate and first instance judgments which were not protested according to cassation procedures shall continue to be legally effective. Contents of the case law. As to the remaining amount of 220,432,700 VND, 471,432,700 VND, 251 million VND equals 220,432,700 VND, paid out by Vo Tion N for the step-up interest passbook No. NA 1297720 under the name of Notan V, Vo Tion N remedied the consequences. The Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development C City recovered the total amount lost. Given the fact that the People's Procuracy of Binh Dinh Province considered that the defendant remedied the consequences and then decided not to prosecute this crime, the Procuracy omitted to prosecute all crimes committed. Thanks for watching, goodbye, and see you again.